Josh Birnbaum, step on up. Get on the scale, son. All right. Get off the scale.
I could go into heavy detail.
What's up? How's it going?
Into heavy detail, and I will go into heavy detail.
Good to see you. Good to be here. A little earlier lab after dark.
Hey now.
It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for making the lab a part of your day. Well, where do we start? First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you to all the support and the messages that I've received in the last day or two. As you may or may not know, the lab after dark took on a different connotation yesterday. Just a bit of a side step, talking about other things. And my father was up for parole this morning after just the weirdest, year and a half. The process basically went like this. After he was denied parole some time ago, about a year and a half ago, what happened from there was they were considering him for an early parole hearing under the whatever it's like a compassion law or advanced age law or whatever. And we rallied against that. They approved the consideration was approved, and then they approved an early parole hearing. Okay, so if you're hanging with me, there was, at first, it was nothing more than possible consideration. We said, please don't even consider it. They considered it. They accepted it, and they moved forward with a parole date, which was this morning. This started back last year. So last night we went over everything, and it's really strange, and I'm not going to keep you in suspense very long at all. And I've told some people, to be honest with you, I'm still processing the entire situation of what happened the last 36 hours. I'm confused. I don't know. I'm confused. Now, I received an email this morning from the parole board. And I'll just read it to you. Let me see. So I woke up and I received this morning. Hello, Joshua. Alejandro Diaz, and then they give his inmate number, signed a stipulation of unsuitability for 3 years. There will be no parole hearing today. Also, please note, next time he will be eligible for parole is 2026. He didn't show up, and he signed a stipulation saying that he's not suitable for parole. And I don't know what to think of it. I don't understand it. I'm thankful for it. I'm still trying to process what happened. It's nothing like this has ever happened in my dealings with the parole board. I don't know why, to be honest. They listed reasons, but I don't know if those reasons are true. I'm not sure. I will find out more as we go along. I'm very happy I don't know, man. It's like the first righteous thing he's ever done in his life for me, my sister, my grandma. And my grandma always used to say, like before these, she would always say, maybe he just won't show up. And I'd always go, what? And she would say, maybe he just won't show up. She used to say it all the time, and I'd always go, there's no chance of that. I don't even know why. I don't know why he would say that. And he didn't show up today. For the very first time, he forfeited his right and admitted that he wasn't stable enough to be in society. That he wasn't even going to try, that he just didn't show up. He just signed I don't know. I don't know why he did it. I have no clue. I have some theories. But it's all. I've never dealt with that before, because every single time that he's ever been up for parole, eligible for parole, he's never turned down an opportunity to at least try to get out. And although he's been denied every time, I don't know if they're mixed emotions. It's just it was shocking. That's it. I was just shocked. But I'm happy about that. It is good news. It is good news. But I hate that I don't know. I just hate what he's done and what he's reduced his life to. It sucks. It sucks that this is his life. It sucks that there's a lot of things that suck about it. The most is because of my mom. And the fact that you have a dad who obviously understands that he's not a fit human for society. I mean, it's he's had 30 something years to figure it out, to try. And he doesn't do it. It's a shame. It's a shame that this is what his life is and has become and will always be. His incarceration hasn't been a good one. His incarceration has not been a good one. He has been in and out of trouble many times. He's had every opportunity to finish his classes, to do his domestic violence classes, his healthy relationships classes. And he just continues to piss all over it. And I'm fine with that. Because he doesn't deserve to be out. But he doesn't even try. He doesn't even try, and I don't know. I'm shocked at what happened. I'm shocked. I just didn't see it happening in that way, and I got really like tightened up to fight against it. It's I don't know, man. Maybe I don't know. Maybe maybe I should have waited. I didn't, but that's okay. Because after this, I can just kind of move on and not worry about him or this situation anymore. At least for some time. And it was just the craziest thing. I just remember my grandma always saying, maybe he just won't show up. Maybe he'll just say, just keep me in here. I don't want to do this. And I used to just roll my eyes and go, yeah, that would be so nice. And but it was always like kind of a pipe dream, I guess you could say. It was always kind of that. And so I just didn't see that coming, and the craziest thing about it, like I said, is that he's probably been up for parole a good 7, 8 times, and every single time he has wanted his chance to be paroled and was always denied. I tell you this, my grandmother is elated. I am too. You may not be able to tell it, but it's just a lot to carry around, and it has been for a month leading up to it. You know, and you got to tell everybody, well, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. You know, I don't know. Yeah. And I hear circus music. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was sooner. It was the quickest turnaround for any parole hearing that we've ever had. And so it's insane to me that it's 30 something years later and we're still doing this game, this rigmarole, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know why, really. I don't know, my sister, when I was talking to her, she thinks that something happened. Now, we haven't been informed of anything yet in that way, meaning she thinks that he either got in trouble, or he just knew that he had no chance. I'd like to think, my personal opinion is, maybe he doesn't have the fight in him anymore. Maybe he realizes he has nothing to come back to. Maybe I don't know. I truly am at a loss. I'm been thinking about it all day because I don't understand. Because this was not even a thought. What happened this morning was not even on our radar. I didn't even know that this was an option for him. I had no idea. I never heard of this. I've never heard of what the lady said was stipulation of unsuitability. I don't know what that is. Well, I do now. And I'll read it to you here. Let's see. Hold on here. We appreciate you. Thank you, BC Proud. Linda is there to hug and hold you, but your nocturnal team holds you in our hearts and thoughts. Thank you. I know you guys do. And that's why I did feel that it was very important to come on. Well, so Mohawk Mom, that's a fantastic question. That's another question that I had. This 11th hour BS, which was annoying as hell, but I don't know. Maybe he got some legal advice. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I just have no clue why. But thank you so much. Don't panic. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, why not tell us sooner? Shoot, I have no idea. I really don't. Linda made that point earlier. She said it'd been nice if he'd have done this 2 weeks ago. Look, he hasn't done me any favors. My family any favors, really. I'm just thankful that this is now over, and tomorrow I'm going to take my grandmother out to dinner for her to celebrate justice. And I can't wait. I'm very excited to do that. Yeah, you know what? It's the weirdest thing because you're right. Whatever it was a blessing. But it's just like I said, I had no clue that this was even an option. None. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know that people did it. I usually just figured when people go to prison, they want to get out. So basically, the stipulation of unsuitability, which like I said, I've never heard of in my life. It's a stipulation. The stipulation is an agreement between the board and the incarcerated person in which the incarcerated person agrees they are not suitable for parole. And this means the incarcerated person is requesting to be denied parole without the bond or without the board conducting a parole suitability hearing. Like I said, I've never heard of that. And even if I had heard of it, I would never have considered it something that my dad would have done. I think there's that there's a bunch of different factors that go into it, but I really here, I'll read this too. Let's see. So when you sign the thing, basically you do have to give a reason. And the reason that he listed, which I'm not necessarily buying, is to provide additional time to program in the areas of family relationships, healthy relationships, and domestic violence. So those are the reasons that he listed. And I got to tell you, if after 35, 34 years that you haven't figured that one out yet, if that's really the reason, I mean, buddy, it's probably just best if you stay where you are. You know. So I don't know. I don't know. But that was what was written on his on that form. But like I said, I really, yeah. I mean, it's probably you just, you know, a check mark or whatever. But like I've heard that stuff my whole life as well. I've heard that stuff like my entire life too, is that, you know, when you go into prison and you are eligible for parole, and by the way, so in California, 25 to life is really, it is a life sentence. You serve 25 years minimum, and they could keep you the rest of your life, just depending on the suitability of just the suitability of yeah, share the can somebody put the Lab Rat Army email in there? But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure why. I wish. I mean, you know, the thing is too, it's like why? Like why? I don't know, man. Why, you know, why does he do anything? You know, why has he done anything? I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that we didn't have to go through another. No problem. All I know is that we didn't have to go through another insufferable parole hearing. No, he doesn't know. He's never really done. He's never really done that. He's never really done that. And yeah, it you know, it really, really, really is confusing because, like I said, this is highly out of the norm. But you know, his last parole hearing went terrible. I mean, it was awful. 3/4 of the way through it, I remember looking at my sister. I was sitting right next to her. I turned and looked at her and I said, I mean, this is insane. Like this, like it's almost like, dude, this is embarrassing. And if that was really the way that his mind was working, I have no idea. And maybe he just didn't want to go through that again. He doesn't know how to answer the questions. And he thinks that the way that he answers the questions are proper. And they're just not, and they don't make any sense when he does it. It was, I mean, personally, I would have been humiliated. Absolutely humiliated if that was the effort that I would have put in to trying to be released. And make no mistake about it, he absolutely was at that time trying to be released. I'll tell you a little bit, and I'm sure some of you have heard this, but I'll tell you a little bit about the contact that I've had with my father. When my grandmother, his mom, died, I was very close with her. She kept all of his stuff at the house, and she'd never asked. She never said anything to us like, you should talk to your dad or anything. She never pushed anything on us, and we spent a lot of time with her, and my whole family on that other side has always just been really great. And my mother was very, very close with all of them. All of his brothers and sisters, and they were all very close. No, he has not been on good behavior. Well, I mean, sometimes, and then sometimes not. So when she passed away, they were like, he's got a few things, like not much. It's Josh, did you say about 3 days ago he wouldn't do his classes? Maybe he's watching your channel. Yeah, I've thought about that too. I have always sort of, I've wondered if that he has or not. I truly have. I don't have any contact with him. It's a pain in the ass to even call somebody in prison. And it's just like I said. Yeah, of course she did. Of course she did. So he had like just crap. It was like everything from him fit into a suitcase, like this little briefcase. It was like a graduation photo. It was an old bank book, some report cards. It was his military discharge papers, his dog tags, because he was in the military for like 3 years. And then it was there was some like letters and stuff, but obviously not a lot. There's just not a lot. And then, we had birthday cards from, I don't know. I mean, he sent birthday cards every time we had a birthday. Was his classes depending on his parole? No, I don't think so. No. I'm sure it would have been more favorable for him, but no, it definitely wasn't. So basically, they were clearing out my grandmother's house. And they asked my sister, like, here, what do you want to do with this? And she was like, I don't give a shit what you do with it. Well, what I did was I did take it. I took his stuff, and because there was nobody to ask. There was nobody to talk to about it. It was always his mom. My grandmother was always the one that dealt with that. So I wrote him a letter. Hey, got your crap. What do you want me to do with it? That was it. And this was probably 2016, something like that. I think it was 2016. Yeah. So I got a letter back. But I'm telling you, the best way that I can describe this is I went through his briefcase of whatever. And I I wish that I had the words to explain it a little bit better, but I don't think that I do. But I'm going to just try it anyway. And that is when I started going through the stuff and looking at this stuff. There was letters, there was pictures, there were ribbons. It was weird, right? And his name's on it. And at that moment, I got kind of entrenched into these thoughts. He's no longer somebody that I am just not dealing with anymore. He's a real person. No, he was in jail. No, they don't let you do that. But this everything just kind of started to come to life. It was the strangest thing. What I mean by that is I was reading letters that my mother had written to my father. Love letters. It was the craziest thing. And there was a time, that I could even tell in these letters that they were absolutely, I would say, in love, smitten with each other. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but everything just became really it was real. Everything was real. Everything was, and my mind was going a million miles a minute. I learned a lot more about my mother than I had ever, and I just finally went on. I called it a spiritual journey. That's what I called it. It was nothing more than me wanting to find out as much as I could about what happened from the source. I'd heard it a million different times from a million different people. No, there was back and forth. I read them all. Oh yeah, they were like 17, 18, 19. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, the gist of it was I had these burning questions. I didn't even remember what his voice sounded like. There was just so many things, so many questions that I had. Now, mind you, he wrote her too. Mind you, I'm about to embark on an exchange wanting to know some answers to some questions. That's it. That is really it. It's weird. But now I have to explain, well, not really. I was terrified that I was going to hurt my grandmother, my family. I thought that they were going to not understand or be upset with me. But that was something that I was willing to deal with. That was something that I was willing to go through. Now, it was never my intention, and I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want them hurt in any way, shape, or form. I didn't want any of that. None. But I had to do it. I had to do it. Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I told my grandma and my sister and everybody else, hey, like, this is what I'm going to do. So we started to exchange letters. And I found myself looking forward to receiving those letters, because I would ask questions about my mother. I would ask questions about just everything, what happened. And he would answer. He would answer, whatever he thought was whatever he thought, So then I got the bright idea. Well, first of all, I said to my grandmother, I'll set up a P.O. box. If you don't want the mail coming here from him, then I'll do something else. And she said, no, it's fine. And as bad as I did sort of feel about that, she was completely fine. And I got to tell you that she, my grandmother, encouraged me to do whatever I thought that I needed to do whatever I thought, was just anything. She wasn't upset. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't anything. She knew that I was going through something that I just had to deal with. And the only way that I knew how. It was my time to ask questions. Which was interesting, because when I would get letters, she would want me to read them to her, and I did. And so from there, I got this bright idea. Obviously writing letters takes a long time. So I told him that I was going to set up a new phone line in my room that he could call me on, and we could talk. Because I decided that even though my grandmother was like, it's okay, he can call, because you have to call, you can't call him, you have to call a landline. So I had a phone system. I had a new phone line and stuff put in because I didn't want my grandma to like answer the phone. Like if he called, I didn't, I just didn't want that. Letters were one thing, but him calling and her answering and, that wasn't something that I was going to put my grandmother through. And we got it set up, and it was like he was going to call every Wednesday, and I was going to ask him questions. But the questions sometimes were just questions like, what did my mother, what kind of music did she listen to? What was her favorite this or her favorite show? And he would answer those questions. And then I would ask, well, let me. So he would call on Wednesdays. And I remember the first time the phone rang, I went, holy crap. Holy crap. And it rang and it rang. And I picked up. And his voice was nothing of what I remembered. It was sort of a mid-high pitch-ish. Not too high pitch, but pretty heavy Mexican accent. How old was I when I did this? Oh, shoot. 30? Something like that. 30 years old, I think. Probably. And so that happened, and we talked. And I remember calling my sister and I said, I just talked to Dad. And she's like, "Oh, well, how'd that go?" So it was fine. Fine conversation. We didn't really talk about anything substantial that very first phone call. But we had in the letters, and we had talked about stuff in the letters. So then what ends up happening is I said, we'll talk next Wednesday. So the phone rang and we were talking. And he told me, I asked him, I said, what was my mom's favorite thing to eat? And what he said was it was salad with all the fixings, basically like olives and onions and cheese and ranch and, pepperoncinis, that kind of stuff, which was a joy for me because that's like my favorite thing as well. That is really my favorite meal is a salad with all the fixings. And I hold really tight to that to this day. I never knew that. I had no clue. But it makes sense. So then I asked him, I didn't ask him why specifically. I don't know what I did, but I did ask him, what happened, and he kind of told me, but it wasn't exactly the way that I had heard before and from others. Now, my biggest issue with my father and his, I don't know, his recollection of what happened was he claimed at the time that he didn't, it wasn't premeditated. That's what he told me. He says, I didn't plan to do that. And I took issue with that. And I told him, I said, well, why would you go around with a gun? And he says, well, I wasn't in the right state of mind. And I said, well, that's obvious. But I said, but why? Why'd you have the gun when you went over there? And he didn't really have an answer. I said, why did you shoot my Aunt Renee? You didn't really have an answer for that. And I said, think about this, and we'll talk about it the next time, next Wednesday. Because he said that he was very much willing to answer these questions. Well, the the honeymoon was over with him and I. Meaning, I wanted answers. And that was all that I was going to do. Was I wanted him to answer these questions. And if I didn't get the honest truth, and I'll tell you that the honest truth is, and I don't care what he says to this day, it was premeditated murder. That's what it was. And the reason is because his own brother, first of all, it wasn't the first time that he threatened out loud to kill my mother. But he did, his own brother, my uncle, we all went down to the police station a week before. And because he told his brother that he was going to kill my mother and that he had a gun, and my uncle went down with all of us and they told the police. Now they said at this time, and remember this is 1987, he says, well, there's no crime that has been committed. Leave your porch lights on. That's what they said. Thanks. Yeah. If he comes around, give us a call. Got it. And so I brought that up. And I said, just think about it. We'll talk next Wednesday. So next Wednesday came. And the tone of the conversation was, did you or did you not? I mean, and I would say you got charged with second degree murder? Did you go over there with the intention to kill her? And he said, no. So then I said, well, why did your brother say this? And he said, well, I don't remember saying that. So I said, oh, okay, well, he goes, he says, I promise you, I did not go over there with that intention to do that. Yeah, and, you know. So I thought, let me, you know, I was like, well, you know, I'm just going to chew on this for a little bit and see if I if I have any more questions, basically. And I said goodbye, you know, said goodbye. And I don't know if it was the fourth phone call, but there were I can't remember if, I'm trying to think. Maybe it was in that phone call, the one before, because we didn't talk on the phone that many times, but he started talking about, after all that, he goes into this diatribe of how he plays on the softball team and how softball season's coming up and so on and so forth. And I legitimately in my mind go, are you effing kidding me? Softball. And then he's like, yeah, you know, a couple years back when I was playing softball, I actually broke my leg, stepped in a pothole. And I was like, yeah, cool. And he got it fixed and started telling me about his triglycerides and how he didn't like water, but he learned to like water. And I just kind of stopped talking. And I remember he says, well, are you there? I said, yeah, I'm here. Says, everything okay? I said, everything's fine. I'll talk to you next week, same time. Hung up the phone. And I was sitting there thinking, he's not telling me the truth. For whatever reason, and I'm not sure why it is. I don't know if that's truly how he remembers it, or if that is just what makes him feel better about the situation. That's it, you know. But either way, he was not being honest about it. And like I said, I don't know if that's selective memory. I don't know if that was on purpose. Maybe he didn't remember. Maybe he has convinced him. This is all the things that were going through my mind. Maybe he convinced himself that he didn't plan it. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I was like, when Wednesday was coming, and I was sitting at the desk, and it was almost time for him to call, and the phone started ringing, and it had it was like a legitimate landline. Like when you pick up the phone, you know, it was corded and everything. It was ridiculous, sitting on my desk. And it had when it would ring, this like orangish red beep, like this orangish red light would flash. And the phone had a very distinct ring. And it started ringing. And I sat there and I looked at it. Nobody else calls that phone. Nobody else. I mean, it was him. But I just listened to it ring and ring. And I looked at the light and it rang. And I didn't answer. The next night, around the same time, phone rings again. And I didn't answer. So about a week goes by. Wednesday again. Ring, 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 ring. I wasn't sitting at my desk. I was in the living room. I could hear it ringing. I had no intention of answering. Then another week went by, another Wednesday. He didn't call. The following Wednesday, it rang again. And by that time, I had decided that I'm never going to speak to you, or I'm never going to speak to him again, nor did I ever plan on explaining it to him. I owed him no explanation. And I ripped the phone out of the wall, cord and all. I wrapped it up. I disconnected the line. And I said, this was like a 2 or 3 month process. And I decided, and he sent me a letter, and he says, I won't contact you again. I just, whatever. But yeah, I ripped the phone, and I put it up. And I realized that he was exactly who he had been portrayed to be. And that he was kind of enjoying life a little bit too much for me. And I just knew that was going to be the extent of our relationship. And it was over again for the second time. This time, I made that decision. The time before, he made that decision. He's the one that ruined everything, not me. He ruined it all. He made that decision, whether consciously or not. He still made that decision. He ruined everything. He destroyed my entire family. And there was only 4 of us. And then there was only 2 of us left. I haven't spoken to him since then. It's been 7 years since I've talked to him, and before that, it was 26 years I hadn't spoke to him. And so he you know, I just realized, you know, and everybody said, well, you're on a forgiveness path. I wasn't at all on a forgiveness path. In no way, shape, or form did forgiveness ever come into this. I've told everybody this, and I truly believe it. And some people even tell me, well, that's not the way to think about it. And personally, I don't care, because the way that I think about it is just the way that I feel and will always feel about it. I'm not interested in an apology. I'm not. What are you going to apologize for? Killing somebody? Killing my mother? Shooting my aunt? You're going to apologize. I'm sorry I did that. I mean, you could say it. There's some things in life that you cannot apologize for. I was never interested in an apology. I was never interested in the explanation. I just wanted to know, did you plan to go over there that day? Did you plan this out? Knowing the answer. And he wouldn't, he absolutely not. And I had nothing to say to him after that. Him and God can figure out the forgiveness. My forgiveness isn't going to change anything. And if my forgiveness is to make him feel better, well, I'm not too concerned about that. I truthfully do not have hate in my heart for him at all. Matter of fact, it's pain. I pity the life that he chose, and at the same time ripped our entire family apart. But I don't, it's not a hate thing. It's not I learned how to do everything that I know how to do without him. I learned how to dribble a basketball. I learned how to read and write, and I learned how to ride a bike. I got to school every day without him. I did all these things without his help. And I didn't need him for anything. Certainly not all these years later. I just truly didn't. I didn't need a dad. I absolutely did not need a dad. I didn't need that dad. Nothing, I just did not need him anymore at all. But he owed me an explanation, at least. And he gave me what he could, and it wasn't enough. And that was it. And even if he had said, yeah, I did, I wouldn't have been like, oh, that makes me feel so much better. I just wanted to know. I just wanted him to tell the truth about it. Because I know that he knows the truth. He didn't teach me anything. Not a thing. And I got pretty good at some stuff without him. I certainly did. But I didn't owe him anything. If you got through the hate, then you've healed. You're scarred, but it's not eating you. No, it absolutely doesn't eat at me at all. It's not. I just didn't need him. You know. I did when I was little. When I really, 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 truly did need him. He wasn't there. He's the one that made that decision. That was his decision to make. Not mine. He's the one that did it. And today, we were ready again to fight. And he didn't want to. He didn't want to. And that's okay. You know, I'm okay with that. It's fine. You know, I don't need him to, whatever reason he had, and I don't know what I know the reason that was written on the paper. However, I do not for a second believe that is the actual real reason, because additional time, that is all this man has had. Time. What do you need more time for? I'm not complaining. I'm not worried about it. If he doesn't want that, then fine. That's fine. We're elated. I'm very happy. And I'm overly critical of these situations, because it's like, what's the angle here? I'm not used to this. Julie, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Cat H as well, a nocturnal lab rat. Good to see you. Thank you, Cat H. Sweet Mama Ray, how are you? It's good to see you. He likes it there. The gang like in prison. I don't know if he likes it there. Maybe he does. He's comfortable there. I'll tell you that. I mean, that's his home. That's his family. You know, his cellmates or whatever. I think they're in a dorm. Who knows? Yes, it does. Mohawk Mom says it still screws with your brain to get ready for the parole hearing. Yes, but the ones that I worry about, and I'm telling you this, first and foremost, my mother's not here to fight for justice. I'm sure that she would do it. I'm sure that she would be the one to do it, but not me. But she can't, so it's on me to do it. And I did it. And I'm doing it. I worry about my sister and my grandmother, my aunts, my children, because I'm just as good to write it all off. You don't exist in my... Say they did let him out. It's not going to change my life that much. Now, I don't necessarily want to run into him at the grocery store, but, there are stipulations against that kind of stuff. Totally fine. However, I do not believe that him coming up for parole is at all just or fair. At all. The fact that he is allowed to have a chance at freedom has always bothered me. Always. It's not right. No matter how I feel about him. No matter how I feel about him, whether I love him or hate him, it's not right for him to be able to even have that opportunity. And I don't agree with it. That's what bothers me about it. There should not be a chance of that. Hi, Grammy B. Thank you so much for being here. So that was my issue with him. He doesn't deserve that. And like I told my grandmother last night, before this happened, we prayed about it. I prayed with her because she was just a wreck. And I said that, he's coming up for parole. And unjustly. Very much it's unjust. It's not right. No, my mother did not get that same chance. There's no parole hearing for people that have been killed. Unprovoked. Literally, what was said was, Alex, get out of here. She doesn't want to talk to you. with no, I mean, that is, to me, zero provocation whatsoever. They had every single right in the world to tell him to get bent and frig off because they don't want to deal with you. And he couldn't handle that. And I'm telling you right now, once again, whether I love him or hate him or don't have any feelings about him whatsoever, if a person at any point in their life is willing to kill somebody because they don't want to be with you anymore, can you really fix that? Can you really guarantee that even at 60 something years old, that if something doesn't go his way, say he meets a lady. My mother's name is Lorraine Sue Kester. She went by Sue. My sister's name is Suzanne. A lot of people call her Sue. How in the hell are we going to test out him in society? It's a gamble. One of the things that they say is, well, does this person pose a risk to society? The last interaction that he had with the woman, he killed her. The last two women, he tried to kill both of them. And if he doesn't think that he is up for this life on the outside, are we really, truly willing to test this? A threat to society? Of course he is. That's a no-brainer. Anybody that would kill anybody unprovoked just because they don't want to be with you anymore and they put a bullet through you. And I won't even go in to the details of my mother, but he shot her multiple times. There's no reason for it. None. He doesn't deserve it. And that's not me being hateful or like looking for vengeance or anything. It's really about right and wrong. Now I'm telling you, and I've thought this before. If my aunt had died and he was charged with double homicide in 1987. He would very much have been looking at the death penalty. But by the grace of God, my aunt, thank God, survived. My mother was pronounced dead on the scene immediately. He would have absolutely been a candidate for the death penalty in California in 1987. And he lucked out. The fact that he's able to come up for parole is asinine. Remember, he didn't just do what he did to my mother. He tried to do the same thing to my aunt and failed. miraculously. He lucked out. That's it. He lucked out. And my aunt, through divine intervention, luck, God, Jesus, a combination, somehow, some way survived. How knowing her injuries, right through her lung, collapsed her lung. She lost over 3 liters of blood when she probably barely had 4. Goes into a coma, and they charge him with attempted murder. Well, that's not right either, is it? Technicality. And my aunt, it's a great point, 7777. My aunt, who I love with all my heart and soul, was already teetering on the edge. And it completely broke her as a human for a very long time, and she has never recovered. Nor will she ever. Never. My poor aunt. And I know, I get it. I understand when I say this, people will say, well, Josh, do you have any idea? Probably not. Why would you? You shouldn't. The guilt that I've carried around knowing that my dad tried to kill my aunt. And as an adult, it was insufferable for me to feel any different. I felt guilty. I get it. I was a little kid. I understand. But to know that this is who he was and who he is, it was terrible. It is terrible. I feel still guilty. My aunt has had many struggles in her life, and to this day still does some. And I love her with all my heart, and she's a great person, and she would do anything for me. And I'm fairly close with her. I mean, you know, I love her to death. My aunt said to him when she wasn't even supposed to, at the last parole hearing, she said to him, well, I can't remember I don't know if they corrected her or not, but she said to him, she said, I just want to know why did you shoot me? I was never anything but nice to you. What did I do to you? That was a really powerful thing for her to say. It was powerful. What did I do to you? I'll never forget when she said that. Never. It's been a good day, whether I realize it or not. She did. She went out there and told him to get lost. That's exactly what she did. What did I do to you? Why did you shoot me? I was never anything but nice to you, Alex. That's what she said. It is a good day. And I'll be ready in 3 years. We'll do it again. Because it's my duty, and it's my... You don't ask for these things, they just happen. They just happen.
Don't say any absent stuff.
That's it, you know? That's all it is.
Josh Birnbaum, step on up. Get on the scale, son. Get off the scale.
I could go into heavy detail.
I'm sorry, I haven't really been paying attention to the chat. But thank you guys so much for the kind comments. Thanks for being here. And thank you a little bit. I appreciate that. You guys are very, very generous with your love and support. It's just...
Hey now.
Yep. I missed a comment. I don't know where it was, but somebody said that they've been watching silently. I'm scrolling. I don't see it now.
Don't say any absent
I'm trying to find it. But I don't know if I will. So anyway, that's it. You know, that's all she wrote for now, folks. It's over. I'm happy for that. I'm very happy for that. Thank you, Karen. Back-to-back Karens. Love that. One Karen. Two Karens. Wait, that's Mohawk Mom. There we go. Lulu. Proven spooky. Make it make sense. Little bit. That's right. Thank you. Love Pink. And of course, my love, Linda.
Josh Birnbaum, step on up. Get on the scale, son.
Yes, he is.
Get off the scale.
Thank you.
I could go into heavy detail. I could go into heavy detail, and I will. And I will go into heavy detail.
Yeah, dinner with grandma should be great. Very, very looking forward to that, actually.
Hey now.
I told her that that's what we were going to do. So, just a little, you know, something.
Don't say any absence, dog.